So in all of our kind of businesses and careers, there's always a point where essentially we've got a dream and ambition and what we want to get to, but things can happen, things can kind of trip you up. Maybe your employment ends, or you have like an illness or something just comes up that you don't expect. And one of the things that I find quite interesting today is that we all have essentially right now, so what is it? It's Friday the 28th of January and it's 9:08. So as of right now, most of us have a plan for the future about what we want to do and how we want to kind of get there. It could be Mike, it could be me, it could be Charlotte, it could be anyone that has dreams and ambitions. Then what often happens is that you have a dream and you want to get to the goal, whatever the kind of goal is. And we have all seen the classic kind of graphics and stuff where the path to success isn't a straight line, it's pitfalls and that kind of thing. And one of the things I wanted to kind of talk about, because actually it happened to me this week, was that most people have seen the kind of the standard roadmap MBA packs, and they come in quite cool envelopes, and there's a whole thing, and basically it's almost sent via mail around the world. But one of the things I really felt that there was an interest in is actually developing into the retail market, in particular the high-end kind of retail market. So one of the things I've developed is actually, it's a coffee table book. It's very hardcover. Hopefully it's quite a nice kind of thing. And one of the things that I wanted to do was try and sell it into John Lewis, Phoenix, different kind of bookstores, that kind of thing, with the idea being that because people are essentially buying a 12-month kind of business course and support, it is quite expensive, you know, relative to a lot of shop type stuff. Same price as you would pay online. But the idea is it was the prestige of actually being able to get it into stores, being able to go into Phoenix or Harrods or Selfridges to actually buy the roadmap. You'd still get all of the other stuff too, but it was that almost prestige marketing thing that I really wanted to get into. So as well as all my online stuff, I also wanted to get into retail. So what I'd done last year was develop the product, write the book, source the supplier, also made in Bulgaria, which actually were the best kind of suppliers I found. Got them back and actually started then doing my homework. Well, actually, who would I approach in different businesses? How do you get into John Lewis? How do you get into Phoenix? Chased down a lot of different avenues to approach people, didn't really hear back. And basically I found it was an organization that almost, it's like the Great British Pop-Up Shop. And they've been commissioned, or they have a gig with big department stores that basically they let out the space. So they almost do the filtering to find cool products that people might be interested in that help you get into those stores. So to get a pitch in John Lewis in London for a week, that kind of thing. So I applied, did all the application, put like my heart and soul into it. And actually that was going to be my route to hopefully at least start to get into retail. And then within 24 hours, it was just not interested, no feedback. Sorry, you just don't meet our brief. We're too busy to reply. So what it done was almost, the whole retail stream, which was going to be the revenue angles of the business, was kind of put on hold a little bit. And what's really interesting is that when these setbacks happen, and this could easily be you're a freelancer, you lose a client, you could be in a job and you find out that you get made redundant. And trust me, I've been there twice. And there's lots of different things that can happen that kind of set you back. What's really interesting though, it's always about how and where you put your focus. And then the other thing that I always try and do is actually have multiple irons in the fire. You never really want to have all your eggs in one basket, because if my entire business model was based around retail, I might not be making any money. So it's almost how you diversify the kind of business and what you're doing. Essentially what you're really looking at it's essentially where, as a person, do you put your time and energy? This could be where you put your time and energy into job hunting. If you want to get promoted, how do you put your time and energy into researching job specs and things that you want to build towards and develop your career? Or for me, in this instance, what I'd essentially done was that I'd actually budgeted a fair amount of money to actually go into retail, and I was starting to plan what the display stands would look like and my stock and the different things. And essentially what I've then done, because actually that road, at least for now, is postponed, I try and run the business with quite a sprint almost mentality. So for me, the next major deadline is the end of the tax year, which is April. So what I'm then going to do is all of the resource, which was here, actually put that back into my original business to look to how can I improve the stream, but actually start to do more paid ads and that kind of thing. But the point is, not really letting the disappointment kind of get to me and knock me back, but actually always have multiple avenues and things that you kind of want to look at. And where I kind of wanted to go with this, and we talk about on the roadmap and we talk about it as any kind of business strategy type thing, is that if you can always look at the multiple revenue streams of how you can get money into the business. And even if you sell a book or a product or a service, one way to mitigate your risk is to just build up and have a wide spread of customers or clients. But then likewise, when you're trying to chase down different opportunities, things won't always go to plan. For me, they haven't with this one, but it's not going to put me off. I still believe in the product. I still believe in there's a space in retail that no other business course kind of plugs that at, but I mean at the premium end, like a really nice quality thing that you'd love to have. So rather than getting too upset about that this door has kind of been closed, take the time and effort that I was going to do for this, and I kind of budgeted for this for the next few months, move it back into the other areas that I am quite strong in, and then just reassess and reevaluate. But it was almost just sharing the honesty of, I had a chat with someone yesterday about actually roadblocks and things that do happen in business. And it happens to me, it happens to everyone. So I just wanted to kind of share the way that I kind of think about that. And then people always say that, what was it? It's to do with, if you ever get a no, it's just an opportunity for learning, which I think that's a bit weak, but it's almost where if you have a goal and an ambition, never let anyone kind of hold you back, because just because the people who did that Great British pop-up shop thing didn't believe in the product doesn't mean that someone else won't really kind of love it. And I think, was it the Airbnb example where they pitched to hundreds, I think it was like 466 different VCs and investors before anyone actually said it's a good idea. And obviously they're a massive global business now, but it's that kind of thing of when you hit roadblocks, just, in the Bruce Lee Buddhist way, just be like water, be like bamboo, just work around it. Don't let it stop you. But if you can, always try and think through the multiple avenues of ways that you can generate income, that actually, if one of them takes a knock, it doesn't completely knock you off course. You've mitigated your risk in there some way. Has this ever happened to you? I'd love to know in the comments. If you ever check this out on YouTube, I always kind of reply to anything that kind of comes in. What kind of setbacks have you had? How did you find it? How did you almost kind of get over it? And I think one of the other sides that I said to someone yesterday was that when I was more junior in my career, I was actually sat with my boss at the time, and we went for this really big oil and gas contract that we put our heart and soul into, and it was worth quite a few £1 million. And basically we got the phone call, and it turned out that we didn't win the gig. And I was pretty gutted because I put months of work into it. But what I was always really impressed with was actually, it was the composure of my boss at the time. And I didn't even really like the guy, but anyway. And it's that almost with experience, you almost know that I've probably had about 4 or 5 major setbacks in my kind of life or career, but none of them have actually kind of stopped me dead. And if anything, you learn from it, you build back strong, and you find the weaknesses and you keep going. And it's almost that mentality and willingness to keep trying, keep getting back on the horse. If you ever want to pick my brains, or just as an independent person, kind of ask any questions or anything, I will always happily kind of do that. And Charlotte, thank you for the comment as well. It is a really good piece of advice to actually have multiple kind of income kind of streams. And based on that as well, if you have a dream and an ambition to really kind of launch and start up with something, and I have spoken about this in the past, if you can, do it whilst you have another source of income. Just because if you have a luxury handbag brand or a business course or whatever it is that you want to do, it often does take a bit longer than you expect to kind of get revenue through the door. So if you can kind of get around that, there are things you can do. And also James, who's been on this kind of before, he's a freelancer, tech kind of expert. There's a big thing about, again, in the first kind of 6 months, 12 months, getting to the break-even point. So a traditional business MBA course will teach you all about the strategy and profit and loss and stocks and bonds and investing and management and stuff, but it won't tell you how to make money within the next 2-3 weeks. And actually the truth is, for a lot of businesses, a lot of people, it's actually kind of where you want to focus. So the niche for the roadmap is to really help and give those real practical skills that if you need to drive revenue in 2-3 months or you run out of money, that's where we can kind of hopefully help. And then if that does sound like you and that's where you are, don't spend any money, don't buy it, just come and write to me and I'll give you one for free, because it's that kind of thing of use your network, ask, and there are things that we can do. I'll cover it in a future video to really help drive sales kind of quickly.